Yeah. Okay, Jonathan, how are you?
Hello,
Fine.
Zaid, my friend. Good.
I heard that you're not well these days. You have some very flu symptoms, but you tested negative and now you are very well. You look great.
I'm
Thank you.
fine.
That's very, very good.
Yeah.
Jonathan, today we'll be talking in the Bridge of Science about the importance of English in the science and medical and other field of science. You are an international professional in the field of educational technology since 1987, and you have an economic and political science degree from Boston University, and you are a computer programming and system analysis. You have a training in that as well. You worked as an English and computer science instructor, and you worked with most large publisher from US and UK. Currently, you're holding the position at Burlington English. This company have been publishing educational material used by millions of students around the world. And today, Burlington is a major supplier of digital material for students learning English. And it's continued to grow and enter new market, introduce new innovation in language, teaching, and learning. And in 2009, after years of development, Burlington launched the Burlington English, an online digital solution for language learning that offer blended learning solution, which combine face-to-face classroom activity with anytime, anywhere access to state-of-art online interactive courses. So, Jonathan, you have a degree in politics and
Yeah.
economics. What brought
Yes.
you to the teaching of English?
So, I've always had an interest in languages and in second language acquisition. And languages are interesting because, as opposed to, let's say, your profession of medicine, in medicine, you're learning anatomy, you're learning a lot about processes, and you're making decisions. Okay, you're a doctor, and when your patient comes, you're looking at the symptoms, you're analyzing all the time, and you're making decisions about what would be the course of treatment. Languages are different because languages, we pick up our mother tongue, our native language, in a natural way, and as a matter of fact, it's called natural language. And if you think about it, a young kid in Morocco speaking French actually knows French grammar better than me, even though maybe the kid cannot define the grammar, but he or she can pick it up. And the same thing is true with pronunciation. And by the way, as an example, research has shown that if a child is raised bilingual, okay, let's say French and English, actually, it really helps intelligence in other areas as well. It's always a good idea if the parents, let's say they know 2 languages or even 3, to raise the children with more than 1 language. Oh. So we at Burlington, we try to, in a sense, recreate language acquisition by dealing with all the skills and by keeping the vocabulary steady, but using the different skills on that same vocabulary: speaking, listening, reading, writing. And for scientists, and especially for doctors, English language is important for a very simple reason. International conferences, dealing with patients from other countries, especially if your country has medical tourism. And so the language is really important. There's another point I want to make, and that is that, and again, this is especially true with doctors. What is the most important thing for a patient to have when going to his doctor? Trust. okay?
Yeah.
That you trust your doctor, okay? You're a urologist. My PSA has gone up a little
Yeah.
bit. I want to consult. I want to consult you. You know, and I know you. You're my friend, so I'm going to consult you. But basically, anybody going to a doctor wants to, wants to actually believe. But if that doctor cannot speak the language properly,
Properly, yes.
automatically trust goes down. Trust goes down. You know, in any marketplace, if you go in Casablanca or Marrakesh and you go to the marketplace, imagine some guy selling whatever and with I don't know, a Russian accent. He might be very honest and he might be very smart and he might have very good product. You won't buy. You won't buy from him. Why? Because you don't really trust him. He sounds funny. You're not really speaking the same. And this is all what I'm saying is backed up by research. So the reducing the accent and making the English feel natural is really important.
Right, that's great. So science needs a vector, as you said, and the vector of science in the contemporary world is English. It has taken a dominant position as a language of science and technology in this new millennium. And the fall of communism, of course, we did the Soviet Empire, the advent of internet, give a head start to US over many other nations on different fields of modern knowledge, which in turn propelled English and challenged leadership to become lingua franca in the modern world. So even countries like China and the other nations that have sometime in the past dominant language of science like French, German, Arabic, all these people are not exception now. That everyone is turning to English because of this reason. So is there any other reason beside those I mentioned why people, especially in science, should learn English?
Okay, so first of all, I'm an old man, so I can tell you a story. Okay. I was once.
That's why we have you here.
So I was once.
You're a living library.
Thank you. I was once giving a lecture at a university in China, and I was talking about exactly what you're saying: English as a lingua franca, and you need English. And one of the professors said, "You know, it's cultural imperialism."
Yeah.
And
some people regard it this way.
That's right. And I was a little bit, just for 1 second, I was taken aback. But I gave him this example. I said, you know, in the world of business or economics, business management, everyone uses Excel, okay?
Yeah.
In the old days, Excel used to have competitors. And now 99% of the people use Excel. Does that mean that it's cultural imperialism? No, it's a question of standardization. So I told this professor, I said, you know, Chinese is just as respectable as English, and so is French, and so is Arabic. It's just, this is the way history has turned, that English is the lingua franca. And nobody should view it as cultural imperialism. And I'll tell you something else. 90% of the people in the world today who are speaking English, it is not their native tongue. Okay, so if you go to a conference in Germany, you're from Morocco,
you still need
and
English.
You're speaking, and you're speaking to a doctor in Germany. What are you speaking? You're speaking English.
Of course.
You know, so it's important to think of it as a tool, no different than Word or Excel. Many in today's day and age, many things are standardized. Okay, and it's good that they're standardized because it allows people to communicate. You know, we're doing this session over Zoom, and Zoom is used around the world.
Yeah.
I don't have any commercial interest in Zoom. Unfortunately, I don't even have any stocks in Zoom. And yet,
you missed this opportunity. Yeah.
Whenever I miss, Yeah, believe me, I did.
Yeah.
But you know, it's the kind of thing. It's the kind of thing that if I were to meet somebody from Mongolia and I want to set up a meeting, I tell him I'll send you the Zoom link, okay?
Yeah,
And
sure.
he'll know what it is.
Yeah.
He'll know what it is because it's
It's a
standardization.
universal language now.
Exactly,
Absolutely.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly,
So
exactly.
in Burlington, you are teaching all level of English from basic to advanced. Tell us about Burlington experience and what about its success story in this field.
So we have many success stories.
Mm.
We teach at all levels, and we also have professional English, such as English for doctors,
We'll come to
English for
that later.
nurses,
Yeah.
English for English for caregivers. And the success story is that if, and it's a big if, I have to admit, but if the learner is diligent and gives the program a good half hour or 45 minutes a day, you can really master the language and feel very comfortable with the language. If you have a teacher or facilitator in addition to that,
It's even better.
even better. That's
Yeah.
right. The results will be better. And if you don't, you don't. You know, there's a huge shortage of English teachers in the world. And that's why the business rationale behind programs like ours is that we, in a sense, are replacing the teacher, even though it's always better to have a teacher. I'm the first to
Absolutely.
admit that
Yeah.
for questions and all that. But there's also a model called the blended model in which it's partially
Yeah.
taught in the classroom or virtual or online, and part
face to face.
independent study. Yes. Face to face could also mean like
Yeah,
you and
of
I are
course.
face
Yeah,
to
what
face
we are
now.
doing now.
Yes. Right. Virtual or class. And so part is face to face and part is independent study over the internet, which is what we're giving. And we have success stories basically from around the world. Our largest market for Burlington English is
China.
adult. No, actually, it's the United States.
Yeah. Okay.
Our largest market is the United States. It's adult education in the United States, where the government, I mean, both the federal and the state governments, want to have the learners go to class again, whether it be virtual or physical, and learn. And we developed a lot of materials for basically not only seniors, but
yeah.
uneducated or lesser educated immigrants to pick up English and to be absorbed in their environment. So that's the US side, but we sell in India, in China, and in Morocco, of course, as well. And we see a lot of, for those learners who get used to the interface and the cadence of the program, there's really a huge success, which can be measured by examinations. It could be measured by, you could do a pre and a post 5-minute interview just to listen to the learner, and you can feel the difference. I can tell you in India, where we have our own company in India, one of the pre-sale activities we do, which I think is pretty amazing, we asked the school, could we please handle one class, one session, 45 minutes? And they say, okay, go ahead. And they say, no commitment on your side. We want to do it. So the students, these are secondary school students, they do their Burlington English and they're practicing speaking words, phrases, sentences, dialogues, only for 45 minutes. And then at the end of that, we ask the teachers to speak to the students using similar vocabulary. And the teachers say, wow, it's amazing. They've changed the way they're expressing themselves even after one lesson. It's because of the methodology that we use.
That's great. Yeah, that's very amazing. So John, you have some, not only medical, you have all other field of science and finance and all. Tell us about the other segment you have
Okay, right.
on
So
specific
it's
English.
more, it's not really science as such, it's more careers.
Yeah,
So we have
careers.
English for careers at various levels, including more menial careers such as a shop clerk or a plumber,
Plumber, yeah.
yeah, all of that.
Mm.
And then going up to the more advanced careers, doctor, lawyer,
Flight attendant,
flight
pilots.
attendant,
Mm.
yes, everything. So the idea behind career English is, if you think about it, what does it mean to learn a language? So let's say you want to teach me French. Fine, you're going to teach me French. So what vocabulary are you going to use? What are we talking about? Are we talking about the bookcase and behind you? Are you talking about clothes? Are we talking about the weather? Are we talking about politics or maybe COVID-19? So any language learning always has a backdrop of content. So what we did is we combined two realms or two fields. One is the content related to the career, and the other is the language learning itself.
Language, yeah.
So when we teach English for doctors or English for nurses, I'm not claiming to have the authority like a medical school. Of course not.
Yeah.
We're not a medical school. We're an English teaching school, but we're an English teaching school where the dialogues that you are using, let's say two doctors consulting, or a doctor speaking with a patient, or two patients speaking, okay? It's all in the realm of medicine. And the same would be true about finance, about legal,
Yeah.
about any of the other professions.
Okay, so you have all different specialty included in the medical. I'm talking about the medical field. You have all specialties, uh, all medical specialties. I mean, almost.
We have
Probably you don't have urology.
yeah,
You promised
we
you're going to introduce it in the near future.
We'll build
Yeah.
we'll build it for you. we don't have urology, but we do have many of the major medical specialties. And we have in Burlington English something called a word list. So let's say the student is a medical school student, or it's a certain section of doctors. We can build fairly rapidly a vocabulary list with sentence examples and with speaking and with listening and with exercises for specific groups. So urologists or psychiatrists or whatever, different types of medical professions, we can do that actually quite easily. And we have most of them already ready.
We know from experience that the program of residency and fellowship in English-speaking countries are very heavily contested, and one needs to have an edge over the native speaker in order to succeed. Now Burlington program is only helping medical graduate to compete for the English proficiency. So it's not including the medical part. So it's not helping the resident to prepare basic science, clinical science, like USMLA, for example. So are you probably in the future willing to introduce this basic science and clinical science to help
Yes.
foreign medical graduates prepare for basic and clinical tests by creating some partnership with like USMLA or British or Australian board exam organizers?
Absolutely, yes. If there's a need, we can always fill in that need, because our expertise is that we know how to teach English and we know how to do it at all the levels and with all the content that's needed. So if there's a specific need and which needs to be filled, very much
Yeah.
so, we could do it.
I
We
think
know how to
there is
do
a
that.
need because
We
people
know how
needs
to do that.
to
Yes,
help
yes.
for not only the language but also the content of like the basic science and the
Yes,
clinical, all different pathologies and
that's right.
all these
That's right.
things.
That's right. That's right.
So if this,
Exactly.
it will be a lot, a great help to foreign medical graduate willing to enter the English-speaking
That's right.
countries.
That's right. And it's a huge market. I mean, there's, if you look worldwide,
Yeah,
the number of medical graduates is huge. Yeah.
yeah, sure. Because of this context of pandemic, the future of face-to-face or physical, I mean, physical presence in the schools, are at least in the short and medium term, seems to be compromised. So on this occasion, we have seen sharp rise in webinar, teleconferencing. How do you see
Yes.
the future of online education and telehealth? And how are we going to deal with this new situation?
Okay. So that's an interesting question. And the answer is, you know, they say necessity is the mother of invention. So
Yeah,
we're in a situation where, since the face-to-face cannot exist, many classes are going virtual. And the most important thing to understand is, what are the differences between a virtual setting and a face-to-face setting? And it's not a question of which is better. Some people ask which is better. There's no answer to
yeah,
that. And
yeah,
even if, let's say, we say face-to-face is better, but what can we do? We're in a pandemic, so we don't have it. What's the real question is, what are the differences and how do we address the differences? So I'll review for you what the differences are. Number one, in any virtual setting, the what's called the knowledge transfer is a little bit slower and there's a little bit more of a leakage. Okay, why is that? Let's say you are the professor, okay, and you have a group of young doctors and you're in a room, physically you're speaking to them. By the fact that they're watching your facial expressions, and it's much easier to do the transfer of knowledge in a physical setting. It's, of course, it can be done in a virtual setting, but the teacher,
the
okay, or
impact
the
is,
right, the instructor needs to understand that the knowledge transfer, it's a little bit more difficult, and therefore sometimes you have to speak slower or explain one more time. That's difference number one. Difference number two, which is interesting in English language learning, is that, let's say, a Zoom session. So let's say I'm the English teacher in a Zoom session, and I'm showing material, Burlington material, which is built for this. So how are the students going to raise their hands and speak to me? So they would actually write in the chat box.
yeah.
So on the one hand, it takes a little bit of getting used to, but on the other hand, it's good for their writing skills because they're listening to me and they can also unmute themselves and speak, and they're also writing. So the virtual setting also has some advantages. I done a lot of training for teachers in the US in these adult educational centers. And I always point out to them that, you know, in the beginning, you need patience, make sure all the students are connected properly, and make sure that everyone is really is getting used to the technology. But once you get used to it, it's actually quite convenient to teach and learn virtually. You know, think about it. There's no travel time, okay? And there's also no issue of bringing somebody else into the meeting, let's say, or into the class. There are advantages as well. By the way, I'm sure you're aware that many universities for the next school year
Yeah, sure,
are
yeah.
going to be either virtual or blended.
Yeah.
Blended. You know, the
Yeah.
open university model, which is come physically once a week or once a month, and the rest will be virtual.
virtual.
So
Yeah.
there, yeah.
That's
There
what
are
we are
many
heading
ways.
for. Yeah. We are heading to this option. Yeah.
Exactly. Of course, for medical training,
Accidentally possible
you
all the
can't.
time.
That's right. You can't cut a
You have to be
cadaver,
in the OR.
on Zoom.
Yeah.
That's right. You can't cut a cadaver on Zoom.
Yeah, sure.
But
That's the kind of
yeah,
specific situation.
yeah.
A student
Exactly.
can acquire Burlington program and study at their own pace, but most of the time, with the time they get less motivated, and most of the
Right.
time they abandon their study. That's the problem with this program. So what kind
Exactly.
of help and technical assistance those who acquire your program will have from you to create fresh interest and motivation?
Right. So it's a very good
Mm.
question. And our program, just like any online program, needs motivation on the side of the student. And we have our own companies in some places in the world, and in other places we work with local partners. Whatever the situation is, we always make sure that there's someone who will be a facilitator, somebody who will make sure that they're in contact with the learners to see that they actually log on and use the program. Because you're absolutely right. You can have the best program in the world, but if it's not being used,
what's the purpose?
it's like signing up for the gym. You can sign up for the gym, but if you don't
Never
go
go
to the gym, exactly.
That's right.
So
it's a very good similarity between the two.
Yes.
Any certification at the end of the program, those who accomplish the program and they want to have a certificate that they are attending the program and they have finished the curriculum?
There is. We have two types of certificates. First of all, we have our own certificates where based on the performance of the student, we can give a certificate on a certain level. We are aligned to the CEFR, the Common European Framework Reference, which is the international standard for language learning. So that's one type of certificate. Another type of certificate is a joint certificate with an academic institution. So let's say a university in Morocco is using our program. We would, together with the university, decide on the threshold, how many hours, what kind of score did they get, and design the joint certificate so that there would be a local authority, to this certificate. There is certification.
Yeah, that's great. Good to know that. So on this positive note, Jonathan, it's always a pleasure talking to you and looking forward to cooperation with you in the field of education. All the best. Huh? Thank you very much.
God bless you, and thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye.